I now take the privilege to invite Honorable Chief Guest Sri Subramanian Swamy ji to grace the ceremony by his valuable thoughts.
Thank you, Madam. Dr. Nagesh Bhandari, Dr. Ms. Bhandari, Mrs. Bhandari, Dr. Sharma, if I may call him my friend, Rajiv Malhotra, I better not be his enemy. Congratulations to this great institution for having organized a book launch on this new book of Rajiv Malhotra, Snakes in the Ganga. I've known him, Rajiv Malhotra, now for quite some time, maybe 20 years. First I thought he was a crazy guy because he gave a job at the top of a huge multinational, which was dealing with technical matters, and he resigned it at the age of 42, 43, and devoted himself to writing books about what the Indian must know in the United States. It shows exemplary courage. It showed also a total disregard for money because he gave up a huge salary to do this on his own, and he's never wavered. So such people are called Rishi Munis in our country. Who are people who can speak the truth, tell the truth, and to tell it in the United States. He's written about, this is his 10th book, all as big and heavy. If I were to go taking all the 10 books, then the airline will charge me some extra duty for taking it in. So it is great pleasure that today I can't say that I've read every word of that book because I got it only a week ago. And I'm, besides being interested in economics as a scholar, I'm also a person who appears on his own in the courts and argues my own cases. And on top of that, I also engage in a lot of other activities like detective work and so on. So therefore, I was short of time, but I've read and moved with Rajiv Malhotra for so long that I can fairly understand the framework in which he is presenting his latest book. Now, the book is of 700 pages, 22 chapters, and a conclusion chapter plus 2 forewords also written by 2 scholars. I got, as I say, came to realize that the last 2 decades, Rajiv Malhotra has been spending time researching. He has a staff, he has associates. In fact, this book is, one of his associates is also a co-author. And the idea is basically to expose the conspiracy against India, to put it simply. There is a conspiracy against India. When the British were here, the conspiracy was, I could go further behind, but I can start with the British because I'm speaking to you today in English. The British made it very specific. When Macaulay went to Parliament and read out his minutes on education. The first thing he said is that Sanskrit should be wiped out. And he made a derogatory remark that one shelf of British literature is more and better than all the volumes of Sanskrit in India. Sanskrit was a medium of language. Sanskrit is, even today, in every Indian language. You can see Sanskrit in the script form also, Devanagari script, which Sanskrit was the first one to bring out, and now many countries, many languages use Sanskrit. Marathi is written in Sanskrit, in Devanagari. Nepali is written in Devanagari. Gujarati is very similar. Tamil also, the Sanskrit, the script of Tamil is very similar to the principles of the of Sanskrit lettering. So Ka is written in Devanagari like this. In Tamil also it's written like this. Ki is done by putting a matra. In Tamil also you put matra. And you say ku, you put a matra under. In Tamil also you put that. So these similarities is all there. And I don't know why this movement keeps coming up in Tamil Nadu, that no Hindi. If Hindi, as the constitution says, shall continually go on increasing the use of Sanskrit, then that would be constitutionally the correct procedure, which means that over a period of time, once you go on borrowing Sanskrit, Article 341 or something like that is in the Constitution, which says that Hindi is the official language of the Government of India, but it shall rely on Sanskrit vocabulary. So Hindi is now jettisoning all these extra, these words which came from other languages, from say Arabia, from Persia, and so on. So I am mentioning this to you, that when Rajiv Malhotra wrote a book on Sanskrit, people asked me, why he is writing that? I said, that is the core. Macaulay said, wipe out and replace everything with English. Then came this theory of Aryans and Dravidians. The first person to use, according to my knowledge, the word Dravid was Adi Shankara. When he went walking on the way, challenging the Uttara Mimamsa school and the Buddhists and so on, and said, if you lose the debate, you convert to Hinduism. If I lose the debate, I'll convert to your religion. He went on winning till he reached Bihar, where he met Mandana Mishra, the greatest scholar of Uttara Mimamsa school. And he challenged him to a debate. The question was, who will umpire the debate? So it was decided by Shankara, and Shankara suggested that the wife of Mandana Mishra should be the debater, the umpire. And she umpired the debate and declared her husband defeated. And the husband then had to convert and became the first Sringeri Acharya in Karnataka. So that was the tradition. There it was the first question Mandana Mishra's wife asked Adi Shankara, who are you? He said, I'm Dravida Shishu. And explained that he was a child of where the three oceans meet. Perhaps my guess is, because I haven't got any authoritative publication on this, he might have said Travid. Tra means three, And with the, in at least in Tamil means a coast. So where the three coasts meet, that is Dravid, that is the south of India. And the British made it into a race. I used to have debates with my friend and also my opponent, Mr. Karunanidhi, many times. And he used to say that Tamil has nothing to do with Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is a language of the invaders, the Aryans. There's no such word Aryan in Sanskrit literature at all. There is only Arya, which is for everybody in the country. Anyone who is a gentleman, is cultured, is Arya. But somehow the British saw this as a way of saying how to divide the country, Dravid in the south and Aryan in the north. All this has been debunked in his earlier books, so I'm not, this is not my research. This is based on my reading of his books. But these are the backgrounds in which we come to the present. None of his book is a stale repetition of the past. They're all new ideas and according to the contemporary needs. So I would say that first of all, that let me explain that in his book, he has given 4 pillars on which the whole conspiracy stands, and one key takeaway, as he calls it, which is the foundation of the conspiracy. And in that he has developed it. He says that there are 4 pillars to this key takeaways. One is the new Marxism, based on a unity of black Americans and the Dalit community. Dalit community genetically is no different from the Brahmin community or the Kshatriya community or the Vaishya community or the Shudra community. There's no difference. If you have seen studies of DNA, you find that the conclusion that comes out of at least 3 major studies done by the University of Mysore, the University of in Texas, and a study published in the Journal of Cambridge Journal of Genetics. All of them say that Indians have the same DNA, irrespective of, of course, there are some fringe parts of our geography where there may be some mixtures. But 99% of the Indians have the same DNA, whether they are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, or not. None of these are actually birth-based. If you want to know whether it was birth-based or not, just go and read the Gita, where Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that I have created this 4-fold system. The Jnani, Tyagi, and the Sahasi will be called the Brahmin. He can be born anywhere. It's got nothing to do with birth. He specifically says it's got nothing to do with birth in one of the shlokas. And similarly, the Kshatriya is the one who will pick up arms for you. The Vaishya is the one who will do the commerce for you. And the Shudra is the one who would be the farmer and the laborer. So these are all not birth-based. And therefore, where did it become birth-based? Certainly, maybe 1,000 years ago, when the invasion started in this country. The scheduled caste community was a microscopic community. It's only 1,000 years ago that numbers became to the point where they are today, 15% or 13%, 14%. So, India was one country, one people. Hindustan is not coming from Sindhustan as the propagation goes on. I have not yet got the official thing, but somebody told me that one of the Puranas has that Hindustan word is Himalayas he and Hindu, Hindu. So he and Hindu together make Hindustan. So this unity is being sought to be disrupted by this creation of a separate identity for the Dalits. I used to jokingly say, some people took it seriously, got angry with me too, that between Dr. Ambedkar and Jawaharlal Nehru, who is a Brahmin, I used to say it's Ambedkar, not Jawaharlal Nehru. He says, how do you say that? I said, Dr. Ambedkar went to Columbia in 1916 and got a PhD in monetary economics from the Columbia Department of Economics. Then he went to England. He got a DSc from London School. And then he got a law degree. And came to India, was the person who piloted the Constitution of India. He was a scholar from day one. He was a Jnani, Tyagi, and Sahasi. He was a very brave man. So he qualified to be a Brahmin. Jawaharlal Nehru went to Cambridge and he got something called Gentleman Pass, which was given by the British to those who came from the colonies not to go back home having failed the exam. I don't think anybody in the Nehru family has passed an exam. I'm willing to bet with you. So, all these divisions that are there today, they have to be wiped out. And what we are seeing today in different places is that the division is being fostered, not so much by Indians, but by foreigners. And in fact, in premier institutions like Harvard University. I went to join the Department of Economics as a student for a PhD in 1962 at Harvard. I had two very famous teachers who actually doted on me because of the fact that I had demonstrated at an early age, almost upon arrival, that I could publish papers in the toughest journals of economics like Econometrica. And so both of them wanted me to do PhD with them, and ultimately I did it with Simon Kuznets, but I wrote a joint paper on the theory of index numbers with Paul Samuelson. These are great geniuses. When the Nobel Prize was instituted, one was first and got it first, Samuelson got it first, and Simon Kuznets got it second. Samuelson was the father of mathematical economics, and Simon Kuznets was the father of GDP. He created the GDP, concept of GDP. So I was their student. I was taken into the faculty, and when I became after I'd become associate professor, when they asked me whether I would take citizenship and be professor, I said, no, I want to go back to India. I came back to India, and all I met was hostility. Mrs. Gandhi saw to it that I was sacked from the IIT. Of course, it didn't matter because 45 years later, I won the case and got my back salary, which was more than I would have got if I had just retired. But I went through this difficulty because I expressed views which were, nobody could challenge me in economics. I was a mathematical economist, a statistician, and a student of Paul Samuelson and Simon Kuznets. But they selected my view on Indian history, that there's no such thing as an Aryan and Dravidian race. We are one people. But that time we didn't have DNA, so I couldn't use that argument. So this attempt to divide India with the increasing science exploding Aryan Dravidian theories, new theories have started coming up. And that is the wonderful work that Rajiv Malhotra has done. It's not an easy book to read because it's technical, but he's identified the Harvard University as the, what shall I say, sanctum sanctorum of all that is being done to debase India, divide India, break up India. What he calls breaking India too. I had an unhappy end with Harvard. I taught from 1963. I came in 62, got my PhD in a year, and I started teaching. I went back to India, then started coming every year. Sometimes I came and spent 1.5 years, 85, 86, as visiting professor. Then from 2000 to 2012, I went to Harvard to teach economics and mathematical economics for every year during the summer. When first of all, I was free from doing politics, and the university was very keen to have people who taught before at Harvard to come back during the summer when the other professors all go away for vacation. Suddenly one day, in 2012, I was informed that I was to come the following year to teach again. The Department of Economics has written a letter, and that is being processed. Do you agree? I said, yes, I agree, I'll come again. And then after it was cleared and I was sent the normal letter, I was told that when all the courses are finalized, the teachers are finalized, they're put together in a volume and sent to something called a catalog committee, which decides the shape, size, front page picture of the catalog and nothing more. And that is a body to which no professor goes to attend, any self-research professors. So the anti-nationalist India people, mostly from the Divinity School, the Center for Asia, where all the people who are to be brought in and brainwashed, they are brought in. This is not part of the department. The Department of Economics is not a part of that. So all these various addendas, things that Harvard has to influence the world, the Kennedy School, they all together decided that the only way to stop Swamy from coming to Harvard and spread his ideas, because I used to teach in class, and then on weekends I used to go and address the Indian students about the true nature of our history, some of the things by which I learned from reading Rajiv Malhotra's books. She is partly responsible for getting me out of Harvard. So this went on and on. And what I mean is there was no difficulty. Harvard had known this. They had known me from 1970 when I returned back to India. I joined the Jansangh. I was a flaming Hindutva scholar at that time. All those things I challenged were actually new. Challenging Aryan Dravidian thing was a big thing. But this was never raised till what Rajiv Malhotra has identified is what he calls as the wokism or something like that, which in a minute I will tell you what it is, what it means here. But since he has written extensively about Harvard, I want to support him on that, because I have seen how it went. How did it go? First they meet and see that my case, my catalog doesn't include my course for the year. And why? Because in India I had written an article, an op-ed in a Bombay newspaper, stating that, we Indians, Muslims and Hindus have the same DNA. So why can't the Muslims accept that their ancestors are Hindus, which by DNA they are? And on that, they said that this was an offensive hate speech, and therefore my course catalog, the course catalog cannot include my courses. And consequently, I, of course, decided that I'm doing them a favor by going and teaching there. So I'd rather stop going abroad and stayed and do politics more extensively in India. But this is Harvard. There was no reference to my scholarly work. The Department of Economics filed a dissent note saying that he is the most wanted teacher, he has the highest turnout in the summer school, we want him, and he teaches 2 courses, one on China and the other is on mathematical economics, and we can't get a professor who has a PhD from Harvard to teach both courses. Either they can teach mathematical economics or they can teach China, but nobody else that we know can teach both courses. So the Department of Economics was against it. Yet school, divinity school, the India caucus thing, I think maybe 1 or 2 professors from the philosophy department, nothing to do with economics. They were able to block me and publicize the fact that because of his hate speech in India, in a newspaper, where he says that Hindus and Muslims have the same DNA, and therefore the Muslims should accept that their ancestors are Hindus. He says this is hate speech, and got the Congress party here in our country to get someone to go to some corner of Assam and file a hate speech case against me, for which a warrant was issued and so on. But of course, I know law and I can argue myself, but I had to fight it. And only 6 months ago, I won the case. The whole thing was quashed as absurd. By the Assam High Court. And none of these people had dared to go to the Supreme Court because they know that's my happy hunting ground, and I'll do a lot of horrible things to them. So therefore, why do they do this? To say that either my way or the highway. That's the whole idea. You either conform or you are being declared as a pariah. This was the whole game plan of Harvard. It's not that Harvard doesn't have scholars. They do have scholars. But they are in people who don't get into these matters at all. And they don't want to, because the moment they get in, they will be targeted too. Harvard Department of Chemistry chairman has been arrested by the US government for being a spy for the Chinese. Can you believe an American being arrested for being a spy in Chinese, and that too from Harvard, and that too a chairman of the Department of Chemistry? So this penetration of Harvard has been facilitated by Indian plutocrats, Ratan Tata, XYZ, giving donations in such large numbers that they provide scholarships to white American scholars who will write about India and write against India. As if our Indians here, students, have so much scholarships that they don't need any more scholarships. And these people also get tax advantages from our own government for having donated to these soft departments, as they are popularly called in Harvard, for propagating things against India. Harvard then got a price for terminating my course, the promise that Sonia Gandhi made to Harvard, that they will give them 100 acres of land north of Delhi to start a campus of Harvard University in India. Everything was cleared. File was only requiring the signature of the minister when the government changed and Smriti Irani became the education minister. It was called Human Resources Department, something. And she was, of course, a big fighter. Everything about her is not plus, but she's got lots of pluses. And she asked me that the bureaucrats, as soon as I landed in the chair and sat down, the first file they gave me was this is pending, you must sign it. When I saw Harvard, I said, I better ask you. So she said, what do I do? I said, why do you need a Harvard campus? She said, their professors will come, the students here won't have to go there, and so on. I said, nowadays there's something called EDX, by which you can attend a class at Harvard without having gone there at all through the computer. So why do you need these guys here? Then they will change your culture also. Whereas through the computer, they cannot change your culture. And you will also learn the subject you want. So cancel it. To her credit, she canceled it. And now that I won the case in court in Assam High Court, I have now decided to sue Harvard. I don't have to go to America to sue it because they have got some office in Bombay. In Delhi, okay. I didn't know about Delhi, but Delhi is even better. Again, it's where I live. So I've started the preparation. And I've told Harvard that I'll sue you unless you apologize. And the salary I was supposed to get for the term that you canceled, you have to give me that salary with the interest rates of 15%. I was told by one very important dean of Harvard that if I don't publicize this, they will give it to me without going to court. I said, no, the game is and the fun is in the publicity, so that you never do it again. I'm not interested in the money. I sued Harvard, IIT, and I got my 40 years of back salary at 8% interest. If I had stayed at IIT and retired, I wouldn't have got so much money as I got this way. So naturally, my appetite has been whetted. So what does this mean? See, I don't want to take away time from Rajiv Malhotra, because he has brought in some very important concepts, which I'll just refer to, and then I will conclude my speech here. One is what he calls wokeism, which the Chinese, in their language, I speak Chinese, and it's very important that the Chinese don't like anybody else, foreigner learning Chinese. They have a saying called Tian Pu Pa, Ti Pu Pa, Jo Pa Yang Wei Zi, Hui Shou Zhong Guo Ha, which means do not fear the foreigner, do not fear the enemy, but do fear the foreigner who can speak Chinese. So it's such a tough language that, if you learn it, that means you got some ulterior motive. But in Chinese, Bai Zhou means white leftism, is what they call as wokeism. Wokeism is a concept which I'm sure that Rajiv Malhotra will give you a more elaborate explanation. It's really essentially a camouflage or hate, revenge, resentment without reason. Most of all, woke is used by universities to demean, smear, mob anyone, mock anyone that dare to question the neo-Marxist ideology. So that is the danger today. There's no threat from Marxism, but there is a threat from neo-Marxism, which needs to be rebutted, exposed, and the book that has come out has done tremendous service for it. More books should be written after reading this book, and take it forward. And I think our country today is not in such a danger as you might get the impression reading Malhotra's book, because there is an awareness now. People speak, when they talk about Hindutva, they may not talk about it being targeted against any other community. But there is a feeling of pride that our religion, the Hindu religion, which they are all trying to debase abroad, is a religion which is the most democratic religion, which says that all religions lead to God. Hinduism is the only religion where it says all religions lead to God. And it says also that if you want to believe in this, believe in it. If you don't want it, that's up to you. All these are there in our religion. And the treatment of women, which is another thing which is being made big thing about in the West. Our religion, Hindu religion, is the most pro-woman religion that you can think of. One day I told somebody challenged me, I said, see, do you know Brahma had a cabinet? Who are the members of the cabinet? So he said, you tell me. I said, defense is with Durga, education is with Saraswati, finance is with Lakshmi. I said, what, the men gods have nothing? Maybe Narad Muni has information broadcasting, but that's about all. You see, women in our tradition have played the role whenever necessary. They can fight. Rani Jhansi, Rani Chennamma in Karnataka. Women were fighters. Women were those who prepared fighters. Shivaji was prepared by his mother. Indian women were Ahilya Bai of Holkar went to Varanasi and dared, after Aurangzeb had knocked down the Kashi Vishwanath, to rebuild it, but she couldn't build it on the same spot because they had built a masjid. So she built it nearby, saying that I hope in the future India will have a situation where Hindustan will have again a chance to have its temple where it belongs, where the Jyotirling was planted. Ram temple also we did legally through the courts, but we proved that yes, faith says that Ram was born there, and therefore the temple has to be there. And a masjid can be built anywhere. In fact, if you see if you go to Google and type whether Turkey demolishes masjids, whether Saudi Arabia demolishes masjids, they'll give you a long list, because masjid is only a place to read namaz. It is not a religious place. Muhammad is not there. It's a building for reading, collectively reading namaz. But you can read namaz in your drawing room, you can read it in an aeroplane, you can read it on the platform of the railway station. So if somebody says, I will not remove the masjid, why? When we are not asking for all temples demolished during the Muslim period to be rebuilt. We want only those which we can't find another place. Can you find another place for Ram Janmabhoomi? No. Can you find for Krishna Janmabhoomi? No. Can you find where Shiva planted his Jyotirling? Yes, in 12 places. The two were demolished by Muslim invaders. One was Somnath and the other is Kashi Vishwanath. Somnath, you had a great leader called Sardar Patel. and he rebuilt it. First thing after 1947, he rebuilt Somnath. Jawaharlal Nehru protested. He said, go to hell. This is what... So now there's only one left. We were ready to build another temple, another mosque. We have done it for the Babri Masjid. It's being built now in a place called Faizabad, which we have renamed as Ayodhya. But they will have a masjid there. So let us understand clearly our heritage. And this heritage should be learnt. It can't be taught in schools because our present curriculum is not up to it. But by reading books of people like Rajiv Malhotra and others, you will be able to get a new viewpoint by which you can be a proud Indian. Thank you very much.
This was awesome. I must say, actually, I've been told not to express much, not to speak more in this official kind of program, but I think I should. So, sir, it was exemplary. It was something which we were really not having previously, and it is a privilege for all of us being sitting in this auditorium. We should again clap for him.